Wyoming is currently one of 8 U.S. states that does not have a minimum age requirement for marriage. As such, it has one of the highest rates of child marriage in the country. So right now in Wyoming, there's an effort to pass a bill that would set the minimum age requirement for marriage at 16 years old, and anyone under the age of 18 would need signed permission from their parent under an eyewitness to do so. Now, lawmakers in Wyoming have made previous attempts to get similar bills passed before, with one now retired Democratic representative trying and failing several times to set the minimum age at 18. Now, there's a big difference between 18 and 16, though, and there's a reason why the bill is only now gaining traction with the age lowered to 16. Approximately 97% of child marriages in Wyoming occur between the ages of 16 and 17. So if this bill passes, not a whole lot would change as far as marital practices in the state. It would make a big difference for that 3% of under 16-year-olds involved in these marriages, but the impact the current bill would have has been severely diminished and limited compared to the impact its earlier iterations could have had. So what's the problem? Why isn't this a no-brainer? The Republican Party of Wyoming is slow to get on board. The same party that wants so desperately to save the children is opposing this bill. Of course, it comes down to freedom, specifically, you guessed it, religious freedom.
I do not want minors to get married, but thankfully, on a few that are getting married here in Wyoming, there are circumstances where it would be best for both parties involved, especially if both are mature minors, and there are some. Who would I be to say to them, yes or no, you can't get married?
A religious lobbying group that opposes the bill said that banning marriages under the age of 16, quote, denies the fundamental purpose of marriage. The point being made is that if two teenagers have a child together, they should legally be able to get married and raise the child together. Currently, there is no reason why two teen parents cannot co-parent their child without getting married, but I suppose the idea of two people who are unwed living together or having a child together upsets their religious sensibilities. But really, is that really what's happening in Wyoming? Are most of these child marriages really happening between two teenagers who are just so in love that they have to get married right now? No. The obvious answer is no. An advocacy group called Unchained at Last found that since the year 2000 in the US, approximately 60,000 marriages occurred at spousal age differences that could have been considered sex crimes. In other words, many of these marriages were essentially used as loopholes to exempt rapists from their crimes, especially in cases where the victim became pregnant. Freddie Rice, the founder of Unchained at Last and a survivor of child marriage, said, quote, "What we're arguing about in most states is the idea of entering a minor into a marriage before they're old enough to bring a legal action in their own name or get into a domestic violence shelter. It's a horrific legal trap that we're creating for minors. And it's just really despicable that in Wyoming, this has become an argument of whether we want to continue marrying off girls to their rapists." Furthermore, while laws dictating 16-plus marriages with parental permission between the ages of 16 and 18 is better than no law at all, there are many reasons as to why a parent could be coerced into giving that permission. A UNICEF policy brief said, quote, "Parental approval can often be synonymous with parental coercion, especially in the case of an unexpected pregnancy, financial instability, or other situations that might influence a parent's decision. In all scenarios, child marriage limits the rights of a child and deprives them of the opportunity to control their future." Another opposition that the bill is facing from Republicans and religious activists is that this issue just isn't a big enough issue in the state for this to even be a bill. Still, I don't know why it would be a bad thing to have a law like this on the books for the few cases where it would make a huge difference in the lives of young people. In more extreme cases, young girls are married to older men in different countries who then move those girls to those countries and withhold their passports. A 2020 UN report also found a link between child marriages and human trafficking. And so I want to be clear that while we're talking about Wyoming in this particular video, this is happening across the country. In New Hampshire, for example, a young state legislator, Cassie LeVake, tried to pass similar limits on her own state's marital laws, only to have a Republican colleague declare her bill, quote, inexpedient to legislate. The committee voted against her bill along party lines. LeVake also faced public opposition from then Republican Representative David Bates, who said that he didn't want to change a century-old law because a minor feels like it should be changed. Tradition isn't a reason to uphold something that's actively hurting people. That argument's weak, and I think that they know it. All right, that's it for me. If you got anything out of this, please like and subscribe, and be sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok.